There you go. That was Ange Postecoglou after the Brighton game, perplexed as to why there's questions about his future. Before we do get into this debate, I hope no one is saying this, guys. Look, so many of you obviously watching us here live. Please, like I say, keep liking, keep subscribing. I think this is a really important show. I think to kind of transcend, if we can, out to the worldwide fan base of Tottenham, just to get different views and opinions as to where this is, because there's going to be a lot of different feelings on this show for sure. I can see Mac is already gearing up. He's got the blue book, I think, at the ready, or the stats ready to go. But this is an important first question that I need to ask you all. Jason, to start with you, do you understand why there are questions about his future?
Yes, I totally understand why there's questions, because 22 Premier League defeats in itself as a number isn't acceptable. It's totally not acceptable. But I'll probably come at it from a slightly different view, Rick, regardless of who the manager is, in that what next season, rather than saying who do I want the manager to be next season, I'd look at it as what do I want next season to be? And if you say, well, we can't lose 22 games and we want to be competitive in the league again and finish in the top 5 on merit, well, there's a bloke who's currently sitting in the chair that's ticked that box. He did finish 5th, but we went out the cups early. If you say you want Champions League football to be the most important thing next year, there's a man sitting in the chair that's ticked that box. If you want to win a trophy next year, there's a man in position that's ticked that box. So, what do you want the season to be? If you're saying, I think Tottenham should be in the top 3 next season, then okay, then there's a man sitting in the chair at the moment that hasn't ticked those boxes, in which case you can talk about a change. Rather than just saying, do I like Ange Postecoglou or do I want a different manager? If you say that he finished 5th, yeah, but we fell away that season badly, but you want Iraola, for instance, that after 26 games this season was 5th and finished 11th, so you're replacing a man that fell away badly to be replaced by a man that fell away badly. That doesn't make sense to me. So, you got to be very careful in what you want next season to be. Do I think success next season, if we finish 5th and didn't win a trophy, is that really what we want Tottenham to do next year? In which case he has shown he's capable of doing it. So I don't understand why people think that just because we've lost 22 games this year, we'll definitely lose 22 next season. There will be an upturn in players. Players will have a little bit more belief. And if we, I'll probably sit here and I say, I don't think we'll win the Champions League next year. If we didn't get out the group stage and was knocked out in February and you had a run at the FA Cup and so you finished 8th and won an FA Cup next year, is that an acceptable season for people? Would we take that? So, work out what you want next season to be and then tell me who you can guarantee will deliver that season more than the person that's already delivered probably what you want him to deliver next season.
I know Lee's absolutely bursting. Lee, I don't want to do this yet. I just want to go to Adam next, purely on the basis that I think it's interesting to kind of get different viewpoints. I know obviously me and Adam have been speaking throughout the season. Is it fair to say that we've, in our own kind of mindset, have been up and down? I think if you'd asked me, and I'll say this on the show now, I think if you'd asked me my opinion pre the final and pre this week, I think many will know that I've had serious doubts about Ange in general. I think my biggest concern for me is his sustainability to be able to perform over a 38-game season. I think what he has shown in the Cups and what he has shown in one-off games is that he has got the ability to adapt, to change philosophy, to actually change in-game in the most recent games. And I think that will be a frustration for many fans as to why we wouldn't have seen that earlier. Having said that, Ange has come out and made it clear from his perspective that from January onwards, he was all in on the Europa League. And had the league, I think Jason actually said this to me actually during the season, had the league maybe had more jeopardy to it, we may have seen a different scenario when it comes to the league form. And this debate is obviously heavily at the moment in the Spurs fan base as to what the right and wrong thing is to do. I can see both sides, and I think people shouldn't be put down for either wanting maybe a change or for backing Ange Postecoglou. Where are you at in terms of Ange's future and how you see this panning out?
Yeah, you know, like I flip-flopped on this loads, and I think, you know, I was reflecting back on this, and I think when I was on the pod maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, when we weren't doing so well, I'd say everyone's going Ange out at that point, and I said, for me, I just want to see a manager given the full season, not that knee-jerk sacking, get somebody in as soon as the form goes really bad. And I reflected on this after the final, because I thought, had we done that, I don't think we'd have won the final. We'd have probably got somebody else in. We don't know who it would have been. It would have been a transition period again, and we'd have probably gone out to Frankfurt. So there's merit in actually saying, you know what, just see it out for the season. The other side of it is, I've never hated going to Spurs as much in my time as I have this season. I hated it. I didn't enjoy going. I hardly went. I sold loads of my tickets. It's been miserable. Really, really miserable. I've never been so disengaged. I got a bit more engaged and a bit more excited in and around the semi-final. And I said to you, when we had this conversation, I said, I don't think even if we win the Europa, it will make up for how bad the season was. And I've been totally wrong, because I don't actually care about the season anymore. It's forgotten.
We saw that Sunday as well.
Yeah. I up until a few weeks, well, up until last week, I was like, right. And even I said, even if we win the final, I think he should sail off into the sunset as a thank you very much. That's me, and he should stand down. But watching the semi-final and the final and everything to do with him, how he's spoken, how the players have been around him, how they've been afterwards, if you just, like the speech that you put up of him on the stage, I was watching the players, not him. If you watch the players, they're all in it together. They're all like sticking up for him and so on. So they obviously like him. There's obviously something there. Tactically, he can change things. He's shown that. He's shown tactically he can adapt. We can defend. For me, the biggest thing for me, which I've seen, is we have to keep those two centre-backs fit, because they are transformational. They change us from an average team to you could argue that they're the best centre-back pairing in the league, or they're up there with the best centre-back pairing in terms of a pairing. They are, through the quarter-final to the final, as a pairing, faultless. They did not put a foot wrong. They were sensational. And that, for the way Ange plays, that defence bit, and is fundamental for the attacking bit. I think, based on everything that I've seen, he deserves a crack at it, because I actually think people forget, and people have posted in the chat, Inzaghi. Inzaghi is another Conte, who everyone absolutely hated. So you're going to this from this manager who is, we've got our Tottenham back attacking football and won a trophy, to back to like Conte style football, dull as dishwater, which everyone's going to hate again. And that's the biggest thing. Brighton as a club are brilliant at transitioning managers. Levy's got a track record of being terrible at that. He'll bring in somebody that's completely different. So it will derail whatever we do. If we sack Ange now, it will be a deflator, I think, for the players, a deflator for most of the fan base. And I also think we've then got to trust that Levy is going to pick somebody that's going to get it right and take us on. And I just don't think he's going to do that, personally. So for me, I think Ange has earned the right to have a summer. He already alluded to the types of players he wanted: experienced Champions League football and so on, the fact that the younger players are there and so on. And I think he's earned that right to take it forward. He's still got a feel-good factor. And for me, I've said it over and over again. I know you're desperate to get me off. This is probably the longest I've ever spoken about being silly. this pod. But for
Listen,
me,
you're matching Mac and McQueen over there. Go for it. Carry on.
the way he talks, the way I just feel, the way I saw the players. I've always said this. I've always felt the players. He's never lost the dressing room, and that was so apparent to me since we won. So apparent, and that's the fundamental thing. So if the players are with him, he can do it tactically. He's proven that, and we can sign well. I think he deserves, another crack next season.
Can I just say one thing before I bring Lee in? This is really important. I know Jason and me and Jason. I've known Jason I've known Jason over 10 years. We have banter all the time. Jason, what mum is saying is, you are allowed to change your mind. It doesn't mean because you've been in apart from me, according to Jason, I'm never allowed to change my mind. But it doesn't mean because you've been entrenched in one camp that performances, results doesn't lead you to be able to change your mind. Football is a game where it's so crazy. Players, managers, whoever, coaches, you are allowed to change your mind. There's nothing wrong in being entrenched in one camp and moving over to another. I'll be honest with you, my head has been swiveling over the last few days. It's been really difficult because for a long, long time, when I bring Lee in, many people know that I've had real massive red flags and concerns about the manager. But I think just to kind of put my cards on the table, I'm at a point now where there is currently no obvious managerial candidate out there that Tottenham are actively moving for right now. And the feeling, I think, touching what Adam said there, is that when you look at the scenes of the parade, the way the players have actually come out and seemingly backed him, there seems like a really good vibe and a good momentum around Tottenham. I think what you've got to weigh up now is if Tottenham were to sack Ange Postecoglou and a new manager comes in and doesn't get off to a good start, this is just my gut feeling. I think there'll be a huge amount of pressure that goes back on Daniel Levy. And that's why I do wonder that whilst it may have felt for some an absolute certainty that had Tottenham not won the final, Ange would have lost his job. I think given what we saw in the ground, given what we've seen since, as the boys touched upon in their opening segment about the parade, it's leaving Daniel Levy with maybe one of the biggest decisions that he's ever had in his chairmanship at Tottenham. Lee, let's come over to you for the...
I'll say one point just before you bring in Lee, just on that, right?
The suspense is building for Lee McQueen. Go on, Ad.
Sorry, you remember when we got Nuno, like that, how long it took to get managers, everyone turning us down?
Oh, listen, 72 days? 70 plus for Ange as well?
Imagine how deflating that would be if Ange went and then we did that type of process again. You want to trust Levy to do that? No way. No way. Sorry, Macca. Over to you, darling.
Go on, Mac.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think it's fascinating. It does crack me up though. I'm reading all the comments in there as well. Thanks for all the interaction. Like people saying, "Yeah, but," cracks me up. "Yeah, but Conte would have been successful if he was given the money," or "Jose would have been successful if he wasn't sacked," or "Poch would have been successful," but they weren't. They weren't successful. This guy did it. This is the guy. The guy that has got the seat now, which Jace was talking about, tick box it. Oh, look, this guy on the screen right now, he provided us the best week so far, and probably the next year, because our league form's not going to be as bad as it is this year, of our lives as Spurs fans. Let me ask you a question, team. Put it in the comments. Let me know. Would you swap the last 7 days as a Spurs fan for a top 5 finish? Would you do it? There's no chance in hell anyway. And you can come at me. Don't bother me. I'm not bothered. You can block me. I don't care, right? Here is the reality. Football is emotion. Football is about being with your people, being with your mates, doing them things. And a top 5 finish does not do that. Yeah, it doesn't do that. Football isn't about, for me, it might be for you, but for me, football isn't about the money. It isn't about the business side of things. It's about winning and doing that stuff with ourselves. Exactly. Destiny. I'm with you, mate. The reality is that this guy deserves, like he's earned the right to come in. He finished 5th in his first season. Yeah. He took over the club and he said it is himself. And I actually feel sorry for him. The fact that he has to sit in front of that press and have to defend himself like he's on the bloody Apprentice, like what I had to do in front of Lord Sugar. Why should you get hired? And you have to tell him this is why. You know, it's like he finished 5th in his first season after taking over a club that was 8th in the league. Yeah. He's then in the second season, he's been absolutely abysmal in the league. Abysmal. It isn't acceptable. But I'm sorry, I don't like buts. However, let me tell you about the league season, right? Mickey van der Ven has missed 30 games this season. 30 games. Just let that sink in. That is 30. Yeah. We played 60 games. So he's missed 50%, right? And Romero's missed 27. Again, it's just let's let that sink in. 27, right? Since they've been back in his side in the Europa campaign, because he's been leaving them out in the Premier League, because yes, Brian, I remember your comment from about an hour ago. Do I actually believe? Yeah, I 100% believed. I believed that we can win the Europa. I believe.
Brian, he did believe. He did believe, Brian.
100% I believed. And you guys need to start believing, because this guy's doing it. He's actually done it.